Hi, welcome to week 2 of Educational Leadership. It is so great to be with you this week, week 2, that runs from April the 27th to May the 3rd. This week is about inclusive education. It's about creating environments that are safe, secure, welcoming, inviting to all students, regardless of race, regardless of social economic status, regardless of gender, regardless of religious or spiritual views. It's about creating a place and a space and a case for all students of every kind. This is an exciting week, and as a bit of a hook, I'm here today in the Faculty of Education Student Lounge. I'm going to give you a panoramic shot of this room, and I'd like you to think about how does this room welcome people, and how might this room intimidate or not welcome students. So take a look. The hallway is there. Table over there. Bookshelf there. All right. There's also a little kitchen over there, but you can imagine that. It would be a great activity to take a walk around your school and to think about how does that space, or how could that space be inviting or hostile, even toxic to some students. So this week we are taking a critical lens and analyzing everything about our school system. And it's also about social justice, which means being an agent of positive change. So we've got some pretty in-depth readings this week. Let me get quickly to the three main purposes of this week's video. I'd like to highlight or recap week number 1. I've got some wonderful things to tell you about that. I'd like to introduce you to week 2's reading. And I'd also like to remind you, end of this week, your entire newsletter article draft form is due. Wow, but we'll get to that. Okay, recap of week 1. I went through every student's leadership timelines. They were fantastic. I learned so much about you. So many people gave so much of their spirit to their writing. They shared parts of themselves that they just took a risk in sharing. And I look up to your courage. And thank you for telling us about the leader in you. I really believe that that activity will help us even become closer as a group of students. So thank you for that. Also, your definitions of leadership and your choice of who was a leader in your mind. I went through all of them. I skimmed them quite quickly. I didn't do a response for every one of those, but every week I'm going to look at all your writing. Sometimes I will respond, sometimes I won't. But I loved it as well. And I hope that you got something from it. And I'm wondering that from your definition of leadership and your example, if you might have even, the person that you talked about, picked up the phone and said, hey, thank you for being a brilliant leader in my life. Okay, I also, let's see, this is Saturday evening, and so it's not Sunday yet, but Saturday evening I had, I think, 9 or 10 students hand in their title and their purpose statement from week 1. I went through them all, I handed them back. For those of you that, I'll hand yours back as soon as I can as well. They're coming along nicely. Remember that your purpose statement for your newsletter article, it needs to be broad and yet general. After reading it, I need to know what your broad topic is, and I need to know what specific part of that topic you will be talking about. So there's oh my goodness, writing purpose statements takes me forever. So I'm with you. I empathize if you're having a hard time, but you weren't really having a hard time. This was your draft purpose statement, and we're getting there. So that's coming along nicely. Also remember, your newsletter article has to have some component of leadership in it. Every one that I read so far did, so that's fine. Okay, let's get to our readings. We have 4 readings this week. Once again, I want to highlight that I saw so much work in those discussion forums last week. I'm giving you a lot of readings, and I recognize that. I also know that we're doing twice the work in 1 week that a normal 12-week course takes. So I really think about you and I think, gee, this is a lot of work. And I do recognize, though, that you are actually doing 2 weeks of work in 1 week. Normally I only give about 3 articles, but because this is an intensive class, we have 4 this week. Okay, the first article is Dantley and Tillman. Social justice and moral transformational leadership. Interesting how in this article they've got an introductory aspect. This is the kind of academic writing that I'd like you to use. It tells the reader straight away what this entire article will be about. So there's no surprises. So that's kind of neat. But moreover, the content of this article, they talk about social justice for leadership, and they say it's akin to transformative leadership. You know, this week the first 2 articles talk about social justice, but really social justice is about promoting a inclusive education for all students. So when you read social justice, think about an inclusive education. Keep them parallel in your mind. They have a statement in there that they say they explain that school leadership must be used to interrogate the uses and abuses of power in social, economic, and political structures. Wow, what does that statement mean to you? They go on to talk about the praxis of school leadership. Praxis is theory and practical aspects or practice combined. This middle part of the Venn diagram. So the praxis, the idea about social justice, really what's happening, and melding them is the praxis. Interesting article. This one is quite a long article. I don't know, about 20-some pages. Depending on how fast you read, it took me about 45 minutes. It's a long article. This paper is about providing school leaders with instructional, hands-on strategies that can be used to promote social justice or inclusive schools. It gives lots of ideas. I really like this article. Lots of hands-on ideas. So we can take the idea that schools need to be welcoming and inviting for every student. We know we need to do that. The hard part is, how do we do that? So that article provides us with some examples. It's a great article. I'm going to move quickly along, and I'm going to talk about the case of Jeffrey Moore. This is Supreme Court of Canada. This is a seminal court case that I believe every teacher, every leader teacher, every principal, vice principal in Canada needs to know about. And really, this this mirrors what has happened in the United States as well. I'll just give you a quick overview. 1994, there was a boy named Jeffrey Moore. He was in grade 3. He had problems, severe dyslexia. The school helped him. Funding was cut. He was sent to another school in northern Vancouver. Funding was cut again. He couldn't go to that school. He had to go to private school that the parents had to pay for. They remortgaged their house, and then the parents said, that's it, I'm going to take the school board to court, because this kind of education should be provided to me free. It should be public education. I shouldn't have to go to a private school to get the education that I need for my son who has severe dyslexia. As I said, they went to the BC Human Rights Commission. They won the case. However, the school board opened the case again, and they went to the BC Court of Appeal. They lost the case. So the Moore family took the case one higher to the Supreme Court of Canada, and they won. So 12 years later, this took 12 years through the courts. November 2012, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled to uphold the first hearing, and they said all school divisions across Canada, by law, must provide adequate special education to students with learning disabilities. This special education is not a luxury or an add-on. It is law. So, very important case. Some implications I should tell you the implications, but I'm going to just give you some quickly. We need to define what is special education. And these long waiting lists for students who have needs, one could even say it's against the law. Wait until some parents might take a school division to court because, and this is interesting. Parents have the right to sue the school board if the special needs of their children are not met. It's a big, big case study. Take a good look through that. It's an important case. Okay, finally, I also have Lance's Minister's Directive of Special Education. Really, this is our PEI policy on special education, and that's it. We don't even really have a policy. Interesting, the word special education. And in that document, I want you to give it a thorough read, and then I want you to take a piece of paper and write down your thoughts about that document. Notice that that document goes to great length to describe what is special education, but look at the wording they use. It's very, very much of a deficit approach to special education. So have a read of that, and that's really our policy on special education and PEI. I know Nova Scotia has a specific policy. There are policies across Canada on inclusive education or special education. Somebody might want to do a major paper on that. That would be excellent. But this is just one example of a policy related to special education. Okay, discussion forum questions. The first discussion forum is based on these two, and it's about identifying 2 actions or action plans that you want to do or do to make your school more inclusive. That's a really quick rundown of what that is. And the second discussion forum is, I want you to make sense of these, and all I want you to do is write 1 paragraph on the main content of this, what you learned from this, and 1 paragraph on the main content of this. Practice having a topic sentence and a closing sentence and filler sentences for those paragraphs. So 2 things, it helps get the content of this, and it helps up our level of quality in graduate writing. Okay, we are now down to talking about your newsletter article. End of this week, by Sunday, May the 3rd, 23:55, hand in your draft. Do you know where you handed in your title and your purpose statement? I'll put a little icon right under that in Moodle, and you can hand it in there. I'm going to try to get them back to you as fast as I can. There'll be lots of marking on your paper. That's for every single student. So if you get a paper that's marked by me and you get it back and you think, oh my gosh, she wrote more than what I originally had. Don't worry, that's normal. That's normal. I give lots of feedback to everybody. It's not meant as an insult. It's only meant to have a better final paper and even just a better learning in the end. So have those in by Sunday. I will try to get feedback to you latest Tuesday night because they're due the next week. That's great. If you haven't already, print off the APA reminder handout on Moodle. I see lots of issues with your APA, and they're all on that handout. Keep your APA manual close to you. And it's not that it's not that it's APA for me. It's good writing. I want clear, specific writing. If there's a sentence that I don't understand or goes on forever, put it into 2 sentences or fix it. However, I love what you're doing. I think it's great. I just love teaching you. So have a great week. Work on your newsletter article. Have it handed in by the end of the week. Work on your discussion forums. Remember 2 original posts. So answer question number 1, question number 2, and then respond to 2 others. I think I'm going to put just 1 question for question number 1 and 1 question for question number 2. Last week I had 2 parts so that half the class could answer here and the other half could answer there. But they changed the way Moodle is looking, and I'm just going to put 1 question for everybody and 1 question for everybody in number 2. Okay, I think this week is going to be great. I think this week is so exciting because of the inclusive topic of this week. And I can't wait to talk to you again next week. Bye for now.